Chapter 1: The Gathering Storm. The city was alive with vibrant hues of light reflecting off towering skyscrapers, a visual symphony designed to captivate and amaze. A major corporate event was set to begin, a multinational product launch in Dubai's sleekest venue, known for its cutting-edge designs and technological feats. The stage was massive, layered with panels of LED screens ready to display eye-catching visuals, complemented by an elaborate system of sound and lighting that promised to envelop attendees in an unforgettable experience. As the final rehearsals unfolded, the company responsible for the setup, a full-service firm specializing in sound, lighting, video management, and online streaming, buzzed with energy. At the heart of the event preparation were 5 key players, each immersed in their roles. Sophia, the meticulous project manager with an enviable reputation for handling high-pressure situations and a secret passion for live music performances. Liam, the senior sound engineer who lived and breathed audio precision, forever striving to create the perfect auditory experience. Maya, the visual effects designer, a creative soul who believed LED panels were canvases waiting for her artistry. Diego, the lighting technician, known for crafting magical atmospheres using his profound understanding of light angles and shadow interplay. Ethan, the live streaming coordinator, a tech enthusiast determined to make every digital viewer feel as though they were part of the physical event. The team had traveled from various corners of the world to collaborate on this high-stakes launch. Despite their skill, unspoken tensions brewed. Differences in working styles and priorities occasionally surfaced, particularly between Sophia and Ethan, who often clashed over the logistical challenges of integrating physical and digital elements. But tonight, there was no room for discord. Every detail had to be flawless. The air in the control room buzzed with an intense blend of focus and anticipation. Liam adjusted knobs on the mixer, ensuring every tone was crisp and dynamic. Maya loaded the final video files into the servers, powering the LED panels. Diego tested the synchronized lighting sequences, his eyes darting from his console to the stage, while Ethan monitored bandwidth stability and stream quality. However, amidst the frenzied preparations, a subtle yet unnerving issue began to surface: a glitch in the LED panels. At first, it seemed insignificant. A flicker here and there, easily dismissed as part of the routine troubleshooting process. But as the evening progressed, the glitch grew more persistent. Maya frowned at her screen, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she tried to locate the source. "You've tested everything, right?" Sophia's voice was sharp yet steady as she entered Maya's workspace. "Of course I did. Something's interfering with the signal. It's not on my end," Maya replied, her frustration evident. Meanwhile, in the control room, Liam noticed an odd hum emanating from the speakers during sound checks. He turned to Diego. "Are the lighting rigs generating interference? It's messing with the acoustics." Diego shook his head. "I triple-checked the wiring. Everything's fine on my end." Ethan, overhearing the exchange, chimed in with concern. "I've had some instability in the stream connection. Whatever is causing these issues, it's spreading across all systems. This could jeopardize the event." Sophia attempted to mask her anxiety. "All right, everyone, this is what we do. We solve problems. Maya, you focus on the panels. Liam, you address the sound issues. Diego, double-check the lighting setup, and Ethan, stabilize the connection. I'll coordinate efforts and keep the client updated." The team dispersed, each diving deep into their respective tasks. Despite their expertise, the source of the glitch remained elusive. Tension thickened in the room as the countdown to the event ticked away. Sophia felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on her. Failure was not an option. Unbeknownst to the team, a small but critical error had occurred earlier in the setup. A misconfigured digital signal processor, overlooked during initial testing, was now wreaking havoc across all systems. Liam, while tweaking the audio settings, stumbled upon an irregular pattern in the sound frequencies. "This isn't normal," he muttered, his brow furrowed. At the same time, Maya discovered a discrepancy in the panel configurations, an anomaly that seemed to originate from the processor's control unit. The realization dawned on her. This single piece of hardware was the likely culprit behind the cascading failures. Maya rushed to Sophia. "I think I found it, the processor controlling the panels. It's affecting everything." Sophia's heart raced. "Can you fix it?" "I'll try, but I'll need Liam's help to recalibrate the settings," Maya replied. The two collaborated, frantically working to resolve the issue. Liam provided input on the audio recalibration, while Maya reprogrammed the visual configurations. Ethan stepped in to reroute the streaming connection away from the problematic signal pathway. Diego adjusted the lighting sequences to compensate for potential delays. Just as the clock struck showtime, the system stabilized. The team held their collective breath as the first act unfolded seamlessly. Relief washed over them like a tidal wave. Yet, the underlying question remained. How had the processor error gone unnoticed, and who was responsible? As the event continued without a hitch, the team gathered in the control room, exhaustion mingling with satisfaction. They shared a quiet camaraderie, each grateful for the other's contributions, but the mystery of the glitch lingered, setting the stage for revelations and conflicts yet to come. The chapter ends with Sophia staring at the processor, her thoughts swirling. "This isn't over," she murmured, her resolve hardening. Chapter 2, Shadows of Doubt. The success of the launch marked a temporary reprieve, but the night was far from over. The team remained on edge, haunted by the near disaster they had narrowly avoided. A sense of unease lingered, growing heavier as they replayed the events in their minds. The bustling venue seemed quieter now, save for the distant hum of equipment and muffled conversations between attendees. The celebratory atmosphere didn't extend to the control room, where an unspoken tension simmered among the group. Sophia sat at a corner desk, her tablet glowing as she reviewed detailed reports from the night's setup. Her fingers tapped rhythmically on the screen, her usual composure marred by a furrowed brow. She had always prided herself on anticipating problems before they arose, and this oversight left her questioning her leadership. Across the room, Ethan leaned against the wall, arms crossed. His sharp eyes scanned the equipment, his mind running through diagnostics he had already completed a dozen times. "It shouldn't have gotten this far," he muttered to no one in particular, his voice tinged with frustration. Maya, seated beside a pile of disassembled components, looked up. "No one's blaming you, Ethan. It's just weird, isn't it? That processor was fine during rehearsals. How does something like that just fail?" Diego, normally the optimist of the group, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Maybe it wasn't just a random failure," he said hesitantly. "What if someone tampered with it?" Liam looked up from his equipment, his expression skeptical. "Tampered? Come on, Diego. We're talking about a corporate event, not some spy movie." But Diego didn't back down. "Think about it. Everything else was fine until that one component started acting up. And it wasn't just the visuals. It spread to sound, lighting, streaming. That doesn't happen by accident." The room fell silent as the weight of Diego's words sank in. Sophia stood, her authoritative presence cutting through the tension. "Let's not jump to conclusions. Our job is to find the truth, not point fingers. Diego, run a thorough check on the equipment logs. Maya, review the system backups. Liam, see if there's any irregularity in the sound frequencies from earlier. Ethan, you're on network diagnostics. I'll handle the client and keep this contained." The team nodded, their initial skepticism replaced with a grim determination. As they dispersed, an undercurrent of doubt ran through each of them. Could someone among them, or an external force, have jeopardized the event? And if so, why? Diego delved into the logs, his mind racing. He had always been a firm believer in teamwork, but tonight, paranoia crept in. Every minor anomaly felt like a clue, every unexplained reading a potential threat. Meanwhile, Maya navigated the backups with an intensity that mirrored her creative energy. The vibrant visuals she loved creating seemed distant now, replaced by cold, hard data. In the sound booth, Liam replayed recordings from the night's checks. His trained ear caught subtle inconsistencies, variations in frequency patterns that defied explanation. He frowned, noting them down, his thoughts spinning. Ethan, on the other hand, pored over the network logs, his tech-savvy mind piecing together fragments of information. But the more he searched, the clearer it became. The glitch wasn't an isolated incident. It had been triggered intentionally. As the hours ticked by, the pieces of the puzzle began to align. Maya called out, her voice breaking the heavy silence. "Guys, you need to see this." The team gathered around her workstation. She pointed to the screen, where a timestamp log displayed an unauthorized access attempt. This happened just before the processor started acting up. Someone inserted a manual override. Ethan leaned in, his face grim. That's not just tampering, that's sabotage. A chill ran through the group as the reality of their situation set in. Their once routine project had taken a dark turn. Someone had gone to great lengths to disrupt their work, and the implications were far-reaching. But who had done it and why? Sophia's voice cut through the heavy atmosphere. "We're not backing down. Whoever did this underestimated us. We'll find out who's behind it and make sure it never happens again." The chapter closes with a shadowy figure slipping unnoticed through the crowded venue, their face obscured. The tension tightens as the team braces for the challenges ahead. Chapter 3, Fractured Trust. The shadow of doubt loomed heavily over the team in the days following the event. Back at their headquarters in Sao Paulo, a modern office filled with sleek technology and floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the sprawling skyline, the team convened to delve deeper into the sabotage. The usually vibrant workspace, filled with creative energy and lively banter, now felt subdued and tense. Sophia sat at the head of the table in the conference room, projecting her usual commanding presence, though her expression betrayed signs of wear. Around her, the others took their seats, Liam fiddling with a pen, Maya scrolling through her tablet, Diego leaning back with crossed arms, and Ethan hunched over his laptop. A heavy silence hung in the air as they waited for Sophia to speak. "All right," she began, her tone steady but sharp. "We've confirmed this was no accident. Someone intentionally tampered with the processor, and it almost cost us our reputation. The question now is, who did it and why?" Diego broke the silence first. "It has to be someone with inside knowledge. This kind of sabotage isn't random, it's deliberate, and it required understanding our systems." Liam nodded, though his expression was guarded. "I agree, but that doesn't mean it's someone on the team. It could be an external contractor, or even someone from the client side." Ethan cleared his throat, his gaze fixed on his laptop screen. "I've been digging through the network logs. Whoever did this covered their tracks well, but I found traces of an external access point. It wasn't one of us, but it was someone who knew exactly how to exploit our vulnerabilities." Maya frowned, her creative spark now channeled into a simmering frustration. "But how would they even know about our setup? We're careful with our security protocols." "Careful, yes," Ethan replied, "but not impenetrable. Someone could have observed us during the setup or gained access to our plans ahead of time." Sophia listened intently, her mind racing through the possibilities. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. It was her job to protect the team and the company, and this breach felt like a personal failure. As the discussion continued, subtle tensions began to surface. Diego's earlier suggestion that the sabotage could have been internal had planted a seed of mistrust. Maya glanced at Liam, wondering if his reluctance to point fingers was a sign of guilt. Liam, in turn, noticed Ethan's evasiveness and couldn't shake the feeling that the tech-savvy coordinator knew more than he was letting on. The air grew thick with unspoken suspicions, each team member retreating into their thoughts. Sophia sensed the growing divide and decided to intervene. "Listen," she said firmly. "We're a team. Pointing fingers at each other isn't going to solve this. We need to focus on finding concrete evidence and tightening our security moving forward. Diego, work with Ethan to identify how the breach occurred. Maya, I want you to review our internal processes and see if there are any weak points. Liam, You'll oversee a full diagnostic of our equipment to make sure there are no lingering issues. I'll coordinate with external partners and the client to get more information. The team nodded reluctantly, but the mistrust lingered. As they dispersed to their tasks, the fractures in their unity became more apparent. Diego and Ethan exchanged curt words as they worked together, their differing approaches clashing. Maya threw herself into her review with an intensity that bordered on obsessive, determined to prove her innocence. Liam, usually the peacemaker, found himself retreating from the others, unsure of whom he could trust. Sophia observed the team's unraveling with a heavy heart. She knew the sabotage was only part of the problem. The real danger was the erosion of trust among her people. And yet, she couldn't shake the nagging thought that someone, somewhere, was benefiting from their discord. The chapter ends with a foreboding scene. An anonymous email appears in Sophia's inbox, the subject line reading, "You're not as secure as you think." The sender's identity is hidden, but the message contains detailed schematics of their setup from the Dubai event. Sophia's breath catches in her throat as she realizes the threat is far from over. Chapter 4, The Web Titans. The anonymous email weighed heavily on Sophia's mind as she sat alone in her office. The schematics it contained were eerily accurate, detailing their setup to the minutest cable and frequency configuration. Whoever had sent it knew their systems inside and out. But the question of how they acquired this information remained unanswered. Morning light seeped through the blinds, casting long shadows across her desk. The rest of the team was due to arrive soon, but Sophia needed a moment to gather her thoughts. She replayed the words of the email in her mind. "You're not as secure as you think. This isn't over." As the team trickled into the office, their exhaustion from the past days was evident. Despite the tension, they exchanged polite nods and murmured greetings. The unease among them persisted, like an unspoken undercurrent pulling them apart. Sophia began the meeting by addressing the elephant in the room. "I received an email late last night. It confirms that someone is targeting us, and they have access to detailed information about our systems." She connected her laptop to the conference room screen, displaying the email for everyone to see. A collective hush fell over the room as the team processed its contents. The once vibrant camaraderie they shared seemed distant now, replaced by an atmosphere of caution and doubt. "Whoever this is, they're not done," Sophia continued. "We need to figure out how this information leaked and put measures in place to prevent further breaches. I've already asked our cybersecurity consultant to assist, but we'll need to tighten our internal protocols as well." Diego leaned forward, his expression troubled. If they have this level of detail, they either accessed our files directly or someone handed it to them. The implication hung in the air like a storm cloud. Maya shook her head, her voice rising with emotion. "You think one of us did this? That's ridiculous. Why would anyone here sabotage their own team?" "I'm not saying it was one of us," Diego replied carefully, "but we can't rule out the possibility. This is serious, Maya. We have to consider every angle." Liam, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. "Pointing fingers won't get us anywhere. Let's focus on what we know and work from there. Ethan, did you find anything more in the network logs?" Ethan hesitated, his fingers drumming on the table. "I traced the unauthorized access point back to a public IP, but it's masked through a VPN. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. It's going to take more time to uncover their identity." Sophia nodded, her mind already racing ahead. "Then we divide and conquer. Diego, coordinate with our cybersecurity consultant to conduct a forensic audit. Maya and Liam, go through every system related to the Dubai event and look for anomalies or irregularities. Ethan, keep digging into the network logs. I'll liaise with the client to see if they've noticed anything on their end." As the team dispersed, the weight of suspicion pressed down on each of them. Maya and Liam worked side by side, their usually easy rapport now tinged with tension. Diego pored over the audit results, his meticulous nature driving him to double-check every detail. Ethan retreated into his technical world, frustration mounting as he hit one dead end after another. Meanwhile, Sophia met with the client's representative, a sharp and polished executive named Clara. The client was understandably concerned about the breach and demanded assurances that their future events would be secure. Sophia maintained her composure, promising swift action and transparency. Yet even as she spoke, she couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was holding something back. The day turned into night, and the office grew quiet as the team worked late into the evening. Maya called out to Liam, her voice breaking the silence. "I found something," she said, pointing to a series of logs on her screen. "These time-stamped entries, they don't match our internal schedules. Someone accessed the system during off hours." Liam leaned in, his interest peaked. "That's a start. Can you cross-reference it with the other logs?" Maya nodded, her fingers flying over the keyboard. As the pieces began to align, a clearer picture emerged, one that pointed to a specific time and access method. But before they could share their findings, a sudden power surge cut through the office, plunging them into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows across the workspace. The team regrouped, their expressions a mix of confusion and unease. Ethan checked his laptop, his voice grim. "It's not just the power. Our systems are down. Someone's breached us again." Sophia's heart sank as she realized the stakes were higher than they had anticipated. The chapter ends with the team standing together in the dimly lit office, their unity tested but not broken, as they prepare to confront the escalating threat. Chapter 5, Whispers in the Shadows. The hum of emergency lights buzzed faintly in the office as the team huddled together, the shadows of their worry dancing on the walls. The silence, punctuated by the distant wail of sirens in the streets of Sao Paulo, felt deafening. Sophia's mind churned like a storm, and she could see the same storm brewing in the eyes of her team. They had prepared for technical challenges, logistical nightmares, but not sabotage, not betrayal. Ethan was the first to break the tension. "The power surge wasn't random," he said, his tone tight with frustration. "It's too coincidental with what's been happening." "And it's not just power," Maya said, tapping on her tablet, which was struggling to reboot. "Our systems, everything is offline. Someone is targeting us. What's their endgame, though?" Diego said, rubbing his temples. "Sabotaging one event is bad enough, but taking down all our systems? This feels personal." Sophia straightened her posture, her sharp gaze cutting through the room. "Personal or not, we need to act. Maya, Liam, do we have backups of the Dubai event data?" "Yeah," Liam said, pulling out a portable drive from his bag. "I kept a copy just in case." Sophia nodded, relief flickering across her face. "Good. Keep it secure and isolated from the network." Maya raised her hand, her expression half amused despite the tension. Speaking of secure, shouldn't we also maybe go analog? Like pen and paper? At least until we figure this out." The attempt at humor earned a few chuckles, but the gravity of the situation remained. Sophia continued, "Diego, Ethan, check the power systems and the servers. See if you can figure out how the surge happened. Maya, work with Liam to start reconstructing any lost data. I'll contact Clara and let her know what's going on. Let's move." The team dispersed, diving into their tasks with renewed urgency. Diego and Ethan made their way to the server room, the dimly lit corridor amplifying the unease between them. Diego glanced sideways at Ethan. "You've been quiet," he said, his tone probing. "You sure you're telling us everything?" Ethan stopped in his tracks, fixing Diego with a sharp look. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything," Diego replied, though his voice carried a note of suspicion. "I just think it's strange how whoever's doing this keeps hitting us where it hurts most, your systems." Ethan stepped closer, his frustration evident. "You think I'm behind this? After everything I've done for the team?" "I didn't say that," Diego shot back. "But if you've got any leads you're not sharing, now's the time." "Enough," Sophia's voice echoed down the hall, stopping the argument before it could escalate further. She had appeared behind them, her expression unreadable. "We don't have time for infighting. Focus on the task at hand." The two men exchanged a tense glance, but nodded, continuing toward the server room. Sophia watched them go, her own doubts gnawing at her resolve. She trusted her team, but trust was becoming an increasingly fragile thing. Meanwhile, back in the main office, Maya and Liam worked side by side, their shared focus easing some of the tension between them. Maya glanced at Liam, her brow furrowed. "Do you think Diego's right? That it's personal?" Liam shrugged, his fingers deftly working to recover files. "Could be, but it could just as easily be corporate sabotage. Competitors play dirty all the time." Maya sighed, her creative energy feeling stifled by the practical constraints of the situation. "I just wish we knew who we were dealing with. It's like fighting a ghost." Outside, a storm had begun to brew, rain pattering against the large windows of their office. The atmosphere inside mirrored the weather, charged, uneasy, full of the promise of something to come. Hours passed, and as the storm intensified, Ethan burst into the main office, his face pale. "I found something," he said, holding up a printout. The power surge. It wasn't caused by the grid. It was triggered internally. Sophia's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "There's a device, a signal jammer. I found traces of it in the server room. Someone planted it there to disrupt our systems." The revelation hit, like a lightning strike. Maya's hand flew to her mouth, Liam muttered a curse under his breath, and Diego shook his head in disbelief. "Then, whoever's doing this isn't just targeting us remotely," Sophia said, her voice cold and steady. "They've been inside our office." The chapter ends with the camera feed from the building's security system flickering to life, showing a grainy figure moving through the server room late at night. The team gathers around the screen, their faces a mix of shock and determination as they brace for the confrontation ahead. Chapter 6, Unmasked Intentions. The grainy security footage looped on the glowing monitor in the center of the office, casting an eerie light on the faces of the team. A sense of violation rippled through them as they watched the shadowy figure move deliberately through the server room, their movements confident and precise. Maya broke the silence, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Whoever that is, they know exactly what they're doing. Look at how they're avoiding the main cameras." Ethan leaned closer to the screen, his eyes narrowing as he studied the figure's gait. "They've scoped the place out before. This isn't their first time here." Sophia's jaw tightened. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down harder than ever. "How did we miss this? We've had security measures in place for years, and now someone waltzes in and sabotages us." Liam rested a hand on her shoulder, a rare gesture of reassurance. "We didn't know we were being targeted. Whoever this is, they planned it meticulously. But now we've got something go on." Sophia straightened, her resolve hardening. "We're not sitting ducks. Diego, check with building security, see if they have higher quality footage or logs of people entering the server room. Ethan, can you trace the signal jammer back to a specific model or manufacturer?" "I can try," Ethan replied, already tapping away on his laptop. "If we can identify where it came from, it might give us a lead." As the team dispersed to follow their assignments, the atmosphere in the office was charged with urgency. Maya and Liam stayed by the monitor, replaying the footage and searching for patterns or clues. Each frame of the video felt like a piece of a larger puzzle, one that seemed maddeningly incomplete. Diego returned half an hour later, a frown etched deep across his face. Security's footage wasn't much better, but they did have a log of entries into the server room. And, get this, someone used one of our keycards. The revelation sent a ripple of shock through the room. Maya's eyes widened, and Liam's hand froze midair as he was about to sip his coffee. "One of us?" Maya whispered, the words tasting bitter. "Or someone who got their hands on one of our keycards," Diego clarified, "but it narrows things down." Sophia grabbed a notepad, her mind working at lightning speed. "We'll need to cross-reference this with timestamps, see who was where at the time. Ethan, can you pull our internal access logs?" Ethan nodded, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Already on it." The office buzzed with activity as the team threw themselves into the task, but the specter of distrust lingered in the background. Each of them grappled with the uncomfortable reality that the saboteur could be closer than they ever imagined. Hours passed as data poured in. Slowly but surely, a picture began to form. The timestamps from the keycard logs didn't match up with anyone on the team during the critical time, except for one anomaly. A card assigned to an external contractor had been used, though the contractor in question hadn't been scheduled for work that day. Diego furrowed his brow. This can't be a coincidence. The contractor's card was either stolen or used intentionally. Sophia tapped her pen against the desk, deep in thought. Do we have their contact information? I already checked. Maya said, her expression grim. The contractor hasn't responded to calls or emails since the Dubai event. Sophia's gut twisted. The puzzle pieces were aligning, but the picture they formed was alarming. The contractor could be the saboteur, or they could have been a pawn in someone else's plan. Either way, they needed answers. The team's work was interrupted by the buzz of Sophia's phone. It was Clara, the client's representative. Sophia, Clara's voice was calm but clipped. I need to see you and your team in my office immediately. Sophia exchanged a look with her team. We're on our way, she replied, ending the call. The chapter ends with the team leaving their office, tension thick in the air. As they enter the elevator, the weight of impending revelations presses on them. The reflection of the team in the mirrored elevator doors shows a group united yet strained, heading toward answers that could unravel everything they thought they knew. Chapter 7, The Breaking Point. The air in Clara's office was thick with tension as the team filed in. The expansive view of Sao Paulo's sprawling cityscape provided little comfort as they took their seats at the polished conference table. Clara stood by the window, arms crossed, her sharp gaze fixed on the team. Her usual professional demeanor now carried an edge of impatience. Thank you for coming, Clara began, her tone clipped. I assume you're aware of the severity of the situation. Our reputation and yours is on the line. I've received word that there's been another breach, this time affecting more than just your systems. A segment of our client data has been compromised. Sophia felt the blood drain from her face. Client data? She echoed, her voice steadier than she felt. How is that possible? We don't store sensitive data, just the event configurations. Clara's lips pressed into a thin line. It appears the saboteur isn't just targeting your systems. They've managed to access our shared project files from the Dubai event. I trust you understand the implications. Sophia's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of the unfolding crisis. We need access to your system logs, she said firmly. If their breach extended into your files, we might be able to trace the source. Clara nodded. I've already authorized it, but I need results. Quickly. The team left Clara's office with the weight of her ultimatum hanging over them. Back at their own workspace, they dove into action. Ethan and Diego worked together on the new logs, while Maya and Liam continued their reconstruction efforts. The atmosphere in the room was electric, fueled by a mix of determination and dread. As hours stretched into the night, cracks began to show. Diego and Ethan's collaboration grew increasingly fraught, their clashing approaches sparking arguments that Sophia had to intervene in. Maya, ever the perfectionist, pushed herself to exhaustion, while Liam struggled to maintain his usual calm demeanor amidst the chaos. But it was Ethan who made the first breakthrough. His voice cut through the tense silence. I've found something, he said, his tone urgent. The breach originated from a specific IP address. It's tied to a location near our Dubai event site. The team gathered around his laptop, the screen displaying a map with a pinpointed address. It's not random, Sophia said, her brow furrowing. That location, it's tied to one of our subcontractors, the same one whose keycard was used. The realization hit like a thunderclap. Maya shook her head in disbelief. So it was them all along? Not so fast, Ethan cautioned. This could still be someone using their credentials or framing them. We need to approach this carefully. Sophia's mind churned with possibilities. Ethan, can you dig deeper into the contractor's activity? Maya, I need you to pull up their contact history. Diego, check for any irregularities in our records with them. Liam, keep our backup secure. We can't risk any further data loss. The hours ticked by as the team followed Sophia's orders. It was Maya who unearthed the next clue, a string of email exchanges between the subcontractor and an unknown party. The messages were encrypted, but the metadata revealed timestamps that aligned with the breaches. Sophia's determination hardened. We need to confront them, she said. This can't wait. The chapter ends with Sophia and the team preparing to reach out to the subcontractor. As they brace themselves for the confrontation, a sudden notification pops up on Ethan's laptop, a live feed from their internal security cameras showing the same shadowy figure from before, now inside their office. Chapter 8, Resolution and Reconnection. The team stood frozen as the live feed from the security camera flickered on Ethan's screen. The shadowy figure moved with purpose through their office, their silhouette sharp and menacing against the faint glow of the emergency lighting. A collective unease gripped the room. Sophia broke the silence, her voice calm but resolute. We need to act. Ethan, can you isolate which part of the office they're in? Ethan nodded, his hands flying across the keyboard. They're in the server room again. It looks like they're planting another device. Sophia turned to Diego. Call building security. Let them know what's happening and tell them to block any exits. Maya, stay here and monitor the feed. Liam, you're with me. The team moved quickly, the tension tangible as Sophia and Liam headed toward the server room. The faint hum of electronics filled the corridor, their footsteps muffled on the carpeted floor. As they approached the server room, they heard the sound of shuffling inside. Sophia gestured for Liam to stay back as she cautiously pushed the door open. Inside, the intruder was hunched over a server rack, a small device in hand. At the sound of the door, they turned abruptly, their face obscured by a mask. Stop right there. Sophia commanded, her voice sharp. The intruder froze for a moment before bolting toward the emergency exit. Liam leapt into action, sprinting after them, while Sophia stayed back to assess the damage. The device the intruder had been holding was left behind, its LED blinking ominously. Sophia grabbed her phone and snapped a picture before carefully disconnecting it. Liam chased the intruder through the maze of corridors, his adrenaline pumping. He could hear the distant sound of building security approaching, their radios crackling. The intruder turned a corner, but Liam was close behind, his determination unwavering. Finally, with the help of security, the intruder was apprehended. Their mask was removed, revealing a face that shocked the entire team when they saw the live feed. It was the subcontractor, the same person whose credentials had raised suspicions. Back in the office, the team regrouped, their emotions running high. Maya sat at her desk, her hands trembling as she pieced together the events. I can't believe it was them. They seemed so professional, so trustworthy. Sophia remained composed, though her mind raced with questions. We'll get answers, she said firmly. Let's focus on securing our systems and preventing this from happening again. As building security escorted the subcontractor away, they handed over a flash drive that had been found on them. Ethan immediately plugged it into an isolated system, scanning its contents. His findings sent a ripple through the room. It's all here, Ethan said, his voice a mix of relief and disbelief. The plans, the breaches, even communication with a third party. It looks like they were being paid by a competitor to sabotage us. Sophia's jaw tightened. Corporate sabotage, she muttered. I should have known. The team spent the next several hours working tirelessly to restore their systems and ensure no further vulnerabilities remained. Maya's creative energy returned as she redesigned their workflows, adding layers of security. Liam ran thorough diagnostics, ensuring their equipment was in top shape. Diego worked with cybersecurity consultants to implement new protocols, while Ethan monitored their network for any lingering threats. As dawn broke over Sao Paulo, the team gathered in the conference room, exhausted but victorious. They had weathered the storm and emerged stronger for it. Sophia looked around the table, her heart swelling with pride. We did it, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. This was the toughest challenge we've faced, but we pulled through together. The tension that had hung over the team for days began to lift. Maya smiled, leaning back in her chair. I think we've earned a celebration. Diego grinned. How about we put our tech skills to work and organize the best karaoke night this city's ever seen? The idea sparked laughter, and for the first time in days, the mood lightened. The chapter ends with the team gathered on a rooftop bar overlooking the city, their laughter echoing into the night. The bonds they had forged through adversity were stronger than ever, and as they toasted to their success, they knew that no challenge could break them.